Welcome to the second week in our Growing Young Managers program. This week we'll be tackling a very important topic, and that is time management. So last week we covered many of our roles and expectations for high-performing fitness leaders. This week we'll get more specifically into how we piece those things together in order to get everything done at a high level. The time is our most valuable resource, something that is allotted equally to each individual. The quality of our life and career is determined by how wisely we choose to use that time, what activities we choose to pursue, how we waste it, how we leverage it. Whether you're Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, or the President of the United States, everyone is gifted with 24 hours a day, 168 hours in a week. We can either choose to live those hours by design or by default. One of the greatest gifts we can give our teams of personal trainers is the gift of how we run a highly effective schedule in order to create a rewarding and fulfilling career. Now, Napoleon Hill said to begin with the end in mind, and that is where we will start today. If we all start with 168 hours and work backwards, we will create a life 100% by design. So an activity I do with every new personal trainer is to start with just a simple blank sheet of paper and write 168 at the top of it. I encourage you to do this now for yourself in order to get the full effect in order to transfer that to your team. So I also have my trainers right across the top, life by design, not by default. From there, I want you guys, as you follow along with this exercise, to block off for your sleep, for your personal workouts. Plan for every top priority, anything that you can subtract from that 168 that you can possibly think of. Plan for every priority. Don't leave anything out. Don't just say that things are important to you. Prove that they are important to you by intentionally putting them in your schedule. Be specific. Don't just put personal time. Without some kind of intention, you will always feel like you are missing the mark, without something to shoot for. You're going to end up feeling that something is missing. If you do these things, I promise you that you will avoid the dreaded work-life balance rut that for most is not just a time issue, but an intentionality issue. Often that formula only leads to anxiety and even more time wasting, less happiness at home and in the workplace. When you do this activity with a trainer, most will have far more time than they ever thought they would for building their professional life. That is a good thing. Most individuals that aspire to being a high performer, a leader, a high earner, understand that there will be a commensurate time requirement. Some might be hesitant. That is because they're looking through an outsider's lens, a jaded lens. They've never done this before. That is our opportunity to show them what they are really capable of and how worthwhile this career can be. So now that we have potential input as far as hours, we can determine our work requirement and build out our schedule. So how we go about doing this is what we call a schedule exercise. And this activity begins once we've identified the constraints of the time that we're putting in. Once we have the time that we put in, we can reverse engineer that back to our daily work requirement. So for instance, in the example here on the screen, there is an individual with 58 open hours for potential clientele, potential individuals that they're looking to service. This is after they've done that 168-hour activity. That's an annual opportunity at an average total hourly commission of $30 of $95,000 a year. Now, the trainer's actual impact and income will be determined by the extent to which they fill this schedule. And once we have that, we can determine the work requirements and daily goals and daily targets. So coming down here to the screen, bottom of the screen where it says the how. If we have 58 open appointments and the average client frequency is between 1 and 2 times a week, that would require 39 total clients in order to fill this book of business as it's laid out. Now, if this individual also converts at a 25% conversion ratio, that would require 155 presentations in order to acquire the 39 clients in order to fill this book of business. If this trainer also has a 25% contact to appointment show percentage, that would mean that this trainer would require 619 total contacts, total offers, in order to acquire the necessary presentation need and acquire the necessary clients. Now, the work requirement is what it is. Success takes what it takes. Now, if we think about the financial value, let alone the impact and the amount of people that we're actually helping, this schedule being worth $95,000 a year in income, that would make each required presentation worth $585. And each contact, just an individual that you're offering a free session to, worth $146 each contact. What is always an interesting exercise is for our trainers, if they were to believe that each presentation, each PFA that they were to deliver, if they believed they were to be paid $585 for delivering that service, if they simply believe that reality and perform more PFAs, the likelihood of their success would be beyond question. Oftentimes, it can be a great hypothetical exercise for us to ask our trainers, is if we were to pay them a higher dollar amount per PFA, and ask them if they would change their behavior and they would seek more PFAs if they were paid $50 for a PFA as opposed to $10 per PFA. If that were to change their behavior, we know that we have an issue with their belief. We need to take more time in showing them the value of what we do and painting the bigger picture. Awesome. So we have the work requirement, and now we have a bunch of open hours that we have to go fill. So how do we go about doing this? How do we climb the first stair of the staircase? What is our first directive? Days can fly by so quickly without any return on investment, without any return on the time that we've put in. It is in our daily and weekly schedule that we can hope to catch these days. So first things first, our schedule is first filled with our tasks and regular responsibilities. For trainers, their residual task list will be relatively small. They will have their regular pre-booked PFAs, their comps, their training sessions, as well as any scheduled one-on-ones with the fitness manager and team meetings with their fitness manager. Now, for fitness managers, they will have additional recurring tasks to maintain the health of the department. Some of these include one-on-ones with their trainers, professional development meetings with groups of their trainers, a daily huddle with the club manager to review any new member joins or any incoming appointments, a weekly meeting with the club management team to review club-wide performance and initiatives, weekly supplement inventory and ordering, and lastly, weekly department calls and director engagement. Now, how these two different fitness professionals approach their day will be exactly the same. And I would recommend looking and doing it this weekly. But for this example, we're just going to look at each day. So our scheduled appointments and weekly tasks act as a skeleton structure to each day. Now, the real meat, if you will, where high performers really separate themselves is how they navigate everything else, the blank spaces. For my trainers, I call it running the day through your breaks. We can either run each day or each day runs us. This will also help with productivity during client absences or no-shows. So for trainers, I ask them to design their first 5 breaks. Brand new trainers with more availability may need to do even more than this. For fitness managers, we do the same. We want to keep the focus narrow and deep on what is truly important. So here's an example of a day structured by design with predetermined breaks to take advantage of every opportunity within a schedule. Now, the true power of stacking winning days compounds over a long enough time horizon. So let's compare 2 hypothetical trainers. Trainer A takes their days as they come. They're not necessarily intentional with how they use their time between sessions. And then trainer B, who treats each day like a professional, with an intention behind every hour, having a predetermined break to still be productive and efficient. The separation between these 2 examples may not be that great over a 30-day period, but over long periods of time, the comparison isn't even close. Trainer A will probably fall out of the profession, blaming the game and the industry as being unfair. Trainer B will build a highly lucrative and highly fulfilling career, impacting lives in an entire community. So to sum things up, if we treat our time like it matters, it will. We'll get great ROI and truly astound ourselves with what we can accomplish over a long enough time horizon as we stack consistency. People don't lack vision. Our trainers don't lack vision. They envision great lives for themselves, where they truly struggles with depth perception. Only through clarity of future authoring can you consistently help young and green trainers become high performers. Individuals must be given a measuring stick to track measurable progress in reasonable time. It is up to us to remove the lack of clarity around those terms and what that really means. Advanced people never miss the basics, running effective days and never missing the work requirement of success. And in business, just like in fitness, what we get is determined by what we put in, not just time spent, but how that time is used.